Today we are going to do the textures and the percussion, probably the two easiest things to mix down. They shouldn't take too long at all. So see what this one is. Just a vinyl crackle which I've side chained, and I'm just going to whack an EQ on it. Low cut. I'm trying to add a bit of highs, take away a bit of the mids. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring this all the way down so it's not playing at all. I'm just going to start bringing it in so I can just start to hear it. So about there, it's very quiet, very subtle, but we've still got 3 more texture layers to add in. So once they're in, it will just sort of help fill everything out. So let's listen to this one. So this one's a bit more interesting. Looks like I've done something with Effectrix. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a bit of delay, just to sort of help fill it all out, and some reverb. And again, that's going to need EQing. And it's definitely going to need sidechaining. So now I'm just using the left and right panning to try and get it more central. As you can see there, that's pretty even now. And I'm just going to do the same, bring it all the way down. Just hear it. Repeat the process on this one. So this is more like a textural vinyl kind of sound. Looks like we need the standard EQ and sidechain. So I quite like the sound of this one, so I'm going to leave it a little bit louder than the rest, but we're still going to use the same technique. We'll bring it down. I'll bring that one down a tiny bit. We've got one more, which is a bit crazy. I'm running it through Tantra. Go. So the texture group as a whole, nothing too fancy on the processing side. I will do a little bit of bus processing. In fact, it looks like I've already done a bit, so I can delete that side chain because we have got it on each individual channel. We've got a stereo Savage on here, which has helped just pushing it out in the mix. An EQ, just making sure all the low frequencies are cut out because we really don't want that in this bus. And last on the chain, or in front of the EQ, is a better place to put it, is going to be some saturation. Again, I'm just using this to help glue everything together. taking a listen, seeing if there's any adjustments I think that can be made. And I'm actually going to try a bit of compression, because there's a lot of different samples going on here, so it might work to make it sound more as one loop instead of 4 separate loops. So when using compressors, you need to look at your attack, release and ratio. So we will start with the ratio. The higher the ratio, the more compression it's going to be doing, so I recommend just whacking it bang in the middle. The attack is how quickly the compressor is going to work. So 30 being it's going to take its time to compress the signal, and then 0-1 being as quickly as it possibly can to compress the signal. Release is then how long it's going to take to get back to the original signal before it's being compressed. So again, you can have it quite long on 1.2 there, or have it quite quick on 1. There's also an A, which is also release. So if you're not comfortable with compression, you can always just sort of set it there and set your attack to either quick or slow. The attack is easier to understand from the release, so you can always set the auto on the release. So because there's a lot going on in this texture group, I want this compressor to work quite quick. So I'm going to set it on 1. And I want it to stay fairly heavily compressed. So I don't want the signal returning to the uncompressed as quickly as possible, which would be with the release down here. So I'm going to leave the release on 6. I'm going to leave the ratio where it is. I'm going to start dialing the threshold until the needle starts moving. Once we've compressed to the amount we like, we then use the makeup gain to bring the volume back. So we can just start compressing. You can see what it's doing. It's just catching some peaks, and then some of the more harsh peaks it's just catching and then squashing back in. So it's going to bring the quieter bits louder and the louder bits quieter. And what we can do now is we can boost roughly by maybe 2 dB. We can always do a gain stage as well. So if we turn it off, so around about 40. So it probably doesn't actually need that. Maybe 0.75. Yeah, that's about right. So before and after. And if you're ever stuck thinking, is this making a difference or not? Gain stage it so the levels are correct with the plugin on or off. Hover over the on off, close your eyes, rapidly turn it on, off, on, off, on, off. I have no clue whether that's on or off now, and I'm just gonna click. So I feel like that sounds better, which is with the compressor on. So there's one in here that sounds a bit too loud now, which is just this one here. I'm going to make it a bit more quieter. There we go, that's the textures mixed in. Those textures are really just helping fill out the track. Once we add the percussion as well, it won't sound as random. It could probably be brought down in volume, but for the minute we'll just leave it there. So let's hop into the percussion. Let's highlight all the channels, turn them off, turn on the group, and then let's start working through one by one. I'm going to make sure I'm in mono for this, and then we will play around with the stereo width. Check what I've got on the bus. Delete them. Right, let's get stuck in. loop here, so I'm just going to bring up. That's a really nice perk loop, so I'm going to add some saturation. I'm just going to put the EQ in front of the saturator. Still can't really hear it. So we're very quiet. Let's just hear what it sounds like in stereo. Put it back in mono. I'm just going to have him there so he's hitting around minus 24 or so. See what this one is. A little hi-hat glitch by the sounds of it. Just bring him down the volume slightly. Highs out because this is where all the fundamental frequencies of this perk is. All of this is sort of just unnecessary. Just listen to it in stereo. So I'm just going to bring that first loop down a little bit. This one could definitely have a bit of width. So I'm going to use the Stereo Savage and I'm going to use the Vox setting because it has this detune feature, which I feel like will work nicely on this sound. Dial it down a bit. Go. Low. This loop is. or just like a glitchy hi-hat loop, I'm going to add my send and return C, which is a crystallizer, just to add some modulation to it. EQ some of that low. Maybe give it a bit of a boost in the mid and the highs. Sounds good. In the mix. Still quite quiet. In stereo. That was stereo. Not bad. Knock by the sounds of it. Okay, for some reason that echo isn't working. Like I said, I did produce this on Ableton 10, so some of the plugins haven't copied it across well. So what I'm going to do quickly, I will skip forward on this bit because this is more of a creative process. So that sounds fairly similar to what I can remember. What I'm just going to do is I'm going to control the transient, so it's more subtle. And we are going to get rid of some of the crap that I don't want with an EQ. Probably get rid of more. I'm going to give it a real sort of boost here. I think that's more how I want it to sound. I'm going to put it fairly subtle in the mix, in stereo. Try and brighten it up, some of the frequencies. Sidechain, so the echo is getting sidechained as well, and that's probably as good as I'm gonna originally get it. I'm also, with this texture group, I am going to apply a little alter boy, so I can play with the pitch and formant, just so I can get it sitting in the mix a bit better. So I'm going to make it quite loud. Now bring it back down. Feels like it's gelling more with the track now. Cool, so now we have done that, we will do our bus processing for the perks. So for my perks, I actually use the same chain as my drums. So what I do is I copy and paste. And we just copy that on. Whoops, I didn't mean to do that with the filter. Move the filter on the end. Delete this EQ now because we're going to EQ it ourselves. And what we're just going to do is we're just going to bring the drive down or turn all of them off. do is you can just go across and then go back to, whoops, go back to default. So then we have a clean EQ, and we have this with all the drives down. Cool, so there's our percussion. And what we're going to do is the same again. So we're going to watch it. So for me, 700, definitely going to need a big boost. Dip, maybe around 500, sort of where some of those little peaks are coming through. Nothing crazy though. And then highs, probably get away with boosting 4 and above. So now we've done what we wanted to, we're going to turn it off. And we're just going to use that first hit as a reference, 36.8. So gain doesn't need to be brought down actually. Actually, I didn't adjust the gain from when I copied the plugin over. So it has gone up, but not by much, only gone up by 1.2 dB. So now we're going to use the drum strip again, but we are going to use a different preset. I like either this percussive preset or this lively preset. You can also ABM as well. So let's go for A on there, and we can go percussive on this one. I'll forget about the gain for the minute and we'll just compare them, see what they're doing. Personally, I prefer that one. So what we're going to do is have a look, see, are we going to want to boost any lows? Probably not, so that can stay off. That's boosting at 8,000. I'm just going to dial that back again, maybe. I'm going to increase the compression amount just to help start gluing them all together. Turn this off, see the difference it's making. I'm just going to dial it back a bit with the transient. So now I'm happy with that. I am going to then just gain stage again. So 35, so we just need to bring it down about 1. It's a bit more actually. There we go, that would do. Effect rack, I use the same preset again because it is a great preset. You just need to increase the drive so it's actually working. Just dial it back a bit. So this has made it noticeably louder. So I need to come back. So that sounds all pretty good to me. We're going to go over it with an EQ again. So there's some lows coming in that we don't need. We're just going to go through it with a headphone. I'm just going to make a dip there and make it dynamic as well. Because this is where that one that I had to change the delay. There's a few like knocks and stuff around there that I just want to push back. And I'm just sort of going to give it a nice lift in the high end. And I'm fairly happy with that. One other thing I'm going to do is use this limiter. So the Oxford Inflator is a great limiter. It has this effect and curve feature which can add some real nice flavour and warmth to the track. So I'm just going to bring both of them up. So it needs to come down about 3. And again, this is just helping glue everything together. I've used a bit of compression within the SSL drum strip, but this is just adding some of that crunch, analog warmth and stuff. These plugins that are doing this warmth, analog sort of emulation are very good, and when you sort of stack them up over your drums, low end percussion, individual elements, whatever you want to use it on, it does have quite a big effect on the overall sound of your track, but it doesn't mean you can't make a good track without them. So I'm just going to actually bring that up a tiny bit. I'm going to bring that echo one down. There you go, that is the percussion and the textures now done. So we only have 2 things to go, synths and vocals.